Former prisoners of Reddit. What is the craziest thing you witnessed in prison? Had a short guy bunked with me. Not a midget, just really short. He made a thong out of a t-shirt and would wear it around when new guys showed up to mess with them. He'd walk up to their cells wrapped in a blanket like he was cold, then take it off and kinda pose a little before he started talking to them. He called it a mong because it was man-thong. Sometimes he'd walk into someone's cell and crawl on the bunk with them while they were sleeping for a brief second before he jumped up saying, "Oh shit, this isn't my bunk." We always played along like he was a crack-addicted rapist. County jail, but some of the girls would order coffee from their canteen and snort it, which led to them staying up all night meowing to each other. My wife was a surgical nurse at a large university hospital where the state would bring in prisoners. It was pretty common for them to stick a bed spring up their ass so they could get to go to the hospital. They were very honest about it. It was like a vacation for them. They got to eat hospital food and be around real live women. I've often thought that info would be more terrifying to young punks than the typical scared straight programs. Think how fucked up your life is to voluntarily stick something up your ass so you get to go to the hospital for ass surgery. Former guard, not prisoner, but I have witnessed a gentleman stick his hand up his anus well past the wrist to extract feces and throw it against the wall, consume it. Most disturbing thing I have witnessed for sure. Former guard, witnessed 2 hangings and a murder in my 3 years. Best paying and most demoralizing job that I have ever had. The 2 gay guys got into a big argument in the hall at the pill window. Inmate 1 had been spreading rumors that Inmate 2 had AIDS. This was ruining Inmate 2's prostitution hustle. They got back to out barracks and Inmate 2 went to his bunk and got a weapon. His weapon was a bundle of sharpened pencils wrapped with tape and string, etc. He attacked Inmate 1 from behind, trying to stab him in the neck. Inmate 1 realized something was happening and turned. The pencils instead ripped his ear off. He grabbed his head in shock. Inmate 2 bent over, grabbed the ear, and flushed it down the toilet. Edit was on mobile and didn't finish the story. Inmate 1 grabbed a metal mop from the cleaning supply alcove and beat Inmate 2 with it so bad that it bent the mop in half. We wore solid white uniforms, and you can imagine the blood spurting everywhere. The only guard on our door was a short, fat woman. She slammed the door shut from the outside and did nothing to stop the fight. Can't say I blame her with all the real cases of hepatitis and HIV, etc. Finally, male guards ran down, but even they waited until the fight was over to do anything. All I cared about at the time was going to visitation. It was a Saturday, and Nana had come 4 hours to see me, and I was worried about that hall being locked down for the day. She would drive 4 hours one way to sit with me for 4 hours, then drive 4 hours back, and I could see her in the parking lot many times, and she'd be there at least 30 minutes early. At 75 years of age, she never missed. Most times other family would be with her too. Not my story, but my dad's. A guy in his block was in on several life sentences, so basically never getting out. The dude's daughter was raped, and where should the rapist end up? But in the same cell block as the guy in for multiple life sentences. With nothing to lose, he told the guards, "If you don't move him, I'm going to have to deal with him myself." The guards having not listened, the rapist nor the murderer were moved. A week later, while everyone was going somewhere, can't remember the time of day, the rapist had his neck hacked at so hard by a fairly blunt but effective jail-style sword that it became almost fully detached. I'm not sure what happened with the dude who was in for life, but I'll ask in the morning. Ex-boyfriend did some time. He told me about the scariest thing to happen while he was in prison. Taking a shower, one other bloke in there at the time when 2 other guys came in with some sort of blade, and both attacked the other dude, completely opening up his back, blood everywhere. Ex-BF jumps up on side of bathtub, I think it was a bathtub, to avoid blood. The 2 other dudes turned to him and said, "You saw nothing." Ex-BF said he was shaking like a shitting dog. He was only 18 at the time. Guards came in promptly, other dude lived. Well, I was in county jail for a while, and it's nowhere near as interesting as you'd think. A lot of grown men laughing at farts over and over again, playing cards and reading. Most people in county aren't doing a long time, so they just want to get out. My bunkie got Xanax a few times, and we took it. That was about the most exciting thing. Ex-BF saw a guy get put into the industrial dishwasher for stealing someone's ramen noodles. Permanent brain, organ, and skin damage. They basically cooked him. Not me, but a friend's cousin. He told us about one of the overnight corrections officers who would give and get blowjobs from inmates in exchange for snacks, extra showers, gym time, and TV privileges. Boyfriend was in prison, saw a guy cut his own Achilles tendon to get out of the prison for a couple weeks, and into the hospital under guard, of course. not prison but county, was doing 30 days. There was a guy locked up in one of the segregation cells by the cop's desk who would yell random stuff all through the night. Saw him through his window a few times during free time. This guy looked exactly like Saddam Hussein. His screaming would keep me up every night, though it was hard enough sleeping on a concrete slab with a blanket on it. Anyways, one night I woke up and noticed the screaming had stopped. A few moments later, an officer came by my cell and took away my sheets and pillowcase, leaving only those damn itchy recycled blankets made of horse pubes or something. Find out the next morning that the dude had hanged himself using his sheets and pillowcase as a rope. I had a cellmate who talked in his sleep. My first night in that cell, I woke up to, "I'm a fucking murderer, I'm gonna fucking kill you." I was in the top bunk, so I looked down and said, "What's up, man?" He woke up and said, "Huh?" He actually was an alright guy when he was awake, but I think he was dyslexic or something, because he kept on taking my sandals. Pretty basic fare, really. Added. There was a fairly young child molester in there. I estimate that he was 20 years old. He would be raped nightly in the showers. Believe me when I tell you that there is a pecking order in prisons. Child molesters are at the very bottom and will have a very bad time in jail. 2 transvestites in a crowded dorm in Richmond, Virginia, 60 or 70 guys in a place that should hold 30, would drag bunks close together, cover them with sheets, and give sexual favors for cigarettes. Their business was fairly brisk. Also, there was a one-legged murderer that we all called Skippy. I didn't want to antagonize him, so I called him by his real name. At night, the hardest black thugs would come to me and go soft, asking for assistance writing letters back to the people they loved. They went from hard asses to contrite husbands, sons, and brothers who were illiterate but who wanted to write back letters of love to their family. It was actually quite heartbreaking. And for a white man, it gave me a window into the world of black men. Many feel the need to be one thing when with their male peers, but another when with the people they actually love. Very sad and unsustainable. This was in the mid-80s. Throwaway account here. This one guy got out of control with his debts to other inmates, borrowing against his credit at the prison store, never repaid. The guy was just a lazy asshole. And so one day, he climbed up the outside of the cell block and sat on the roof, yelling down these demands to the guards for stupid shit, like a car and his own massage therapist. Basically, he wanted to get stuck in solitary so he wouldn't have to confront the guys he owed. Standard procedure when someone climbs up is to lock down the area, so everyone is in their cells during the daytime for like 2 days while this idiot stays up there. He finally comes down, gets sent to solitary for I think 2 weeks. Then when he comes back, this lifer who he didn't owe anything to stabs him for making him miss his turn on the weights from being in lockdown during his stunt. The jail I was in had some converted actual houses for short-timers, called sweepers, no idea why, to stay in. That's where I stayed. Long-timers go to the barracks. 9 p.m. Xmas Eve. Fully dark outside, and some long-timers are starting to gather quietly around our house full of short-timers. There's a guy that looks like a 300-pound biker, an arsonist almost completely covered in burn scars. Seriously, I asked him what he was in for. And some of the nastiest, toughest-looking guys I've ever seen. Some of the guys in our house weren't small, but we're all starting to look nervous. Something is about to happen, and we can't see the guards. The houses are all surrounded by 7 ft high steel fences. Suddenly, the big guys start silently coming in and gather around a tree in the front. Some sugar gliders, Aussie flying squirrels, come climbing down the tree trunk. These guys all magically produce bread chunks and snacks from their pockets and spend the next hour gently hand-feeding these squirrels. I couldn't believe it, and I said so to my mate. Note that these are the same guys who, after a day working in the kitchen, the knives must be counted and locked in the large walk-in deep freeze. Because if they aren't, or one goes missing, it usually turns up inside someone. Edit 1. Forgot something. Prison liquor. Where do they hide it? Here's one way the guys told me. The beds were tube metal frames. The prisoners bored a hole in the top and stuffed in water and mashed fruit they got from their food. After some time, they bored a hole in the bottom of the bed frame, and out comes foul, stinky liquor with apparently a pretty high alcohol content. When the room is searched, the guards find nothing. The craziest, most unexpected thing I witnessed was 5 hardened criminals sitting on the grass, we worked the gardens, making daisy chains in the sun, or possibly playing pool and listening to everyone sing along to Aqua Barbie Girl. That was fucking hilarious, man. I know I'm like 9 hours late, but looking at the top comments, I've got to put in a couple stories here. The craziest by a long stretch was a white-black riot involving a couple hundred people. I woke up after the flash grenades started going off, but out my window I saw a huge dirt yard covered in tear gas with tons of guys on the ground and a handful of people running through the tear gas to stab each other. The purpose of the riot was for the skinheads to kill a white guy named Snow who was running with the blacks because he was a blood. Unfortunately, I believe they succeeded. Second story is much lighter. I was in a different place, living in a dorm. One time, the dorm got raided. Front and back doors popped open. The cops they called the Goon Squad came rushing in, and if you look closely, you can see like 5 out of the 30 inmates of my dorm simultaneously shoving cell phones in their butts. One poor guy had 2, and one was an LG Encore. Not exactly the Galaxy S3, but definitely bigger than a flip phone. Every one of them passed the spread your cheeks and cough test on the way out of the dorm. 16-year-old kid held for robbery was about to be released on OR and decided to make a break for it. He broke a co's finger trying to bust through a door and got 10 years. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to check out the video on screen, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily Reddit stories.